Ever wonder how heavy resentment can be? It's a question we don't often ponder, but let's explore it together. Picture this. You're trudging through life, a colossal boulder strapped to your back. This boulder, my friends, symbolizes the resentment you carry. It's a formidable weight, isn't it? It's uncomfortable, it's exhausting, and it's holding you back. Now let's dissect this a little more. Resentment isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a massive burden that can have profound effects on our lives. It's as if we're lugging around this enormous rock, day in and day out, and it's impacting everything we do. Consider your mental health. Each grudge you hold, each slight you can't forget, adds weight to your boulder, sapping your energy and clouding your mind. You become so fixated on the past, you lose sight of the present. Think about your relationships. Resentment is like a wedge, driving you apart from others. It fosters mistrust, breeds conflict, and prevents reconciliation. It's hard to connect with others when you're constantly hauling around past grievances. Reflect on your overall quality of life. Resentment can rob you of joy, peace, and contentment. It's a dark cloud that hovers over your every moment, casting shadows on your happiness. It's a shackle that binds you to negativity, preventing you from moving forward. But here's the thing about resentment. It's a burden we choose to carry. We're the ones who decide to pick up that boulder and strap it to our backs. We're the ones who choose to let past hurts weigh us down. So it begs the question, why do we do it? Why do we allow resentment to burden us so? These are heavy questions, no pun intended. But don't worry, we're not going to leave you carrying that boulder alone. Now, imagine if there was a way to lighten that load. And that, dear friends, is the journey we're embarking on today. So buckle up and let's delve into the transformative power of forgiveness. Stoicism teaches us a different way to view resentment. It's like a heavy boulder we choose to carry around. Yes, you heard it right. Stoics see resentment as a choice. Let's delve deeper. Stoicism, a philosophy born in ancient Greece, offers us a unique perspective on resentment. It tells us that resentment is not something that happens to us, but rather something we choose to hold on to. It's like picking up a boulder and deciding to lug it around. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? Now imagine this. Every grudge you hold, every resentment you nurture is another boulder added to your load. Every day, you're choosing to carry that weight. But what if you could just let it go? The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, we can't control what others do or say to us, but we can control how we respond. If someone wrongs us, we can choose to hold a grudge, or we can choose to forgive. We can choose to carry the boulder of resentment, or we can choose to put it down. But let's be clear, choosing to put down resentment doesn't mean that we must forget or ignore the wrong that was done. It simply means that we choose not to let it weigh us down. We choose not to let it dictate our actions or our feelings. We choose freedom over burden. Marcus Aurelius, another prominent Stoic philosopher, said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In essence, by choosing to let go of resentment, we are choosing to be better, to rise above the injury, to not let it define us. Remember, Stoicism is about control, about understanding what we can change and what we can't. And one thing we can always change is how we react, how we choose to carry or not carry resentment. So, how do we start to put down that boulder? Well, let's explore that in our next scene. This is where the power of forgiveness comes into play. Imagine, if you will, carrying a heavy boulder. This boulder represents your resentment, your grudges, your anger. It's heavy, isn't it? It's burdensome and it's tiring. Now imagine replacing that boulder with a feather. Suddenly the weight is lifted, the burden is gone. That's the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is transformative. It's like a breath of fresh air after being underwater for too long. It's the sunrise after a long dark night. It's the feeling of release, of letting go, of setting down that heavy boulder and picking up a feather instead. But what does this transformation look like in real life? Well, when you forgive, you're not only lightening your own load, but also improving your mental health. The weight of resentment can be overwhelming, leading to stress, anxiety, and even depression. But when you forgive, you're freeing yourself from this weight, allowing your mind to breathe and your heart to heal. Forgiveness also leads to better relationships. When we hold on to resentment, we're holding on to negativity, and that negativity can seep into our relationships like poison. But when we forgive, we're releasing that poison. We're choosing love over hate, understanding over judgment, compassion over anger. And of course, forgiveness leads to a higher quality of life. When you're not weighed down by resentment, You're able to live more freely, more fully. You're able to enjoy life's simple pleasures without the shadow of past wrongs looming over you. You're able to appreciate the here and now, rather than being stuck in the past. So, the next time you find yourself carrying the weight of resentment, remember the power of forgiveness. Remember the feather. Remember that by forgiving, you're not saying that what happened was okay. You're saying that you're okay. You're saying that you're choosing to move forward, to let go of the weight, to live a lighter, happier, healthier life. And suddenly, that boulder doesn't seem so heavy, does it? You might be wondering, how can I start practicing forgiveness in my daily life? Well, like any journey, it starts with a single step. First, let's take a page from the Stoic playbook and practice mindfulness. Pay attention to your feelings. When you feel resentment creeping in, acknowledge it. Don't deny it, don't suppress it, just observe it. Observe how it feels, how it affects your thoughts and actions. Next, try to understand. Why do you feel this resentment? Is it because someone wronged you, or is it because of unmet expectations? Once you understand, it's easier to let go. Remember, as the famous Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "We are disturbed not by events, but by the views which we take of them." Now comes the hard part, the actual forgiveness. It starts with a decision to let go of the resentment, to let go of the weight. But remember, it's not a one-time thing. It's a process. You might have to forgive the same person for the same thing multiple times, and that's okay. And finally, be patient with yourself. It's not easy to let go of resentment, especially if you've been carrying it for a long time. But remember, every time you forgive, you're lightening your load. You're freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. Remember, forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. And just like any journey, it gets easier with practice. So keep practicing, keep forgiving, and watch as your life becomes lighter, happier, and more peaceful. So, we've talked about the weight of resentment and the power of forgiveness. We've journeyed through the transformative liberation that forgiveness brings, lightening our burdens and illuminating our paths. We've seen how Stoic practices can guide us towards a life less burdened by resentment, more enriched by understanding and compassion. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear how you're incorporating Stoic practices into your life. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights into Stoicism. Until next time, stay Stoic, my friend.